First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
Joining me now, First Class Father Tyrus. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's start like this. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
I got 4. And I got 3 11-year-olds and an 8-year-old.
What's the breakdown?
I got 1 boy and 3 girls, so he's vastly outnumbered.
Well, I got it the opposite of you. I got 4. I have 3 boys, then got the girl on the 4th try. So I got the reversal.
Yeah, I think it's better when you got more boys than girls, because I feel like the boys kind of rally around and protect the sister, whereas the poor boy seems to be the target of constant he can never make a decision without approval of the group, and so he's always I always just say just stay next to dad.
Well, no doubt
he's
one
much taller than them, so he's got that going for him, but
yeah, each way you have it, it presents a certain number of challenges and always looks easier on the other side for sure. So
yeah.
If you could here, Tyrus, please just take a second to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Well, currently I'm a Fox News contributor, and I wrestle for the NWA. Currently the World Television Champion for them. I act. I do movies. I've been doing. I got Tyrus Live stand-up shows. I just finished one in Greensboro, and I have one coming up November 4th in New Orleans at the Orpheum. And in a prior life, I wrestled in the WWE for about 8-10 years or something like that. So. But right now I have the #1 show in late night comedy, the GUTFELD show, and doing a bunch of the 5, and I got a podcast, Tyrus and Timph. So jack of all trades, master of some, but I stay busy. A lot of jobs or a lot of hats.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, you got that bio down pretty good, and you guys are crushing it on GUTFELD, man. It's amazing to watch what has happened with that show just over the last year, really. I mean, how it's taken over really late night. So props to you for that. And take me back then, if you could, to the beginning of your fatherhood journey, Tyrus. How old were you when you became a dad, and how did that experience change your perspective on life?
So for me, fatherhood was not an easy adjustment. And I had spent my 20s and my early 30s without any kids, and I worked on the road. I traveled on the road. I had very little relationships or connections, and I guess I forgot I'm also a New York Times bestselling author. But one of the things I wrote about in my book, in my childhood, was my inability to sustain connections with people. And a lot of it was self-sabotage. I would just find something somebody said like 4 months ago and turn it into a major event just to end the relationship. I guess there was a lot of control in that. So that is not a good recipe for fatherhood. And I was married, and we were trying to have children, but we were unable to. And when she went to the fertility clinic, they said that she was fine, and I just got defensive and said, obviously it's me. And so I didn't think I could have children. So when we got divorced or whatever, which is, again, never a good thing, and you just kind of went through a little wild, crazy partying time, and then within 3 months, I got 3 phone calls, and apparently the fertility clinic was wrong because it wasn't me. But so all of a sudden, I go from no real, other than my own commitments and my own responsibilities, to having 3 responsibilities, and it was not an easy adjustment. And life on the road is hard. It's hard to be present when you're on the road. You have to really find ways. But once my kids were here, there was a slight period of where I was just dealing with my own issues and worrying more about how much child support was going to be than how much time I was going to put in, and those type of things. And it was a real struggle, and I had to grow up a lot, and you don't realize how much responsibility goes into being an active dad. And unfortunately, wasn't like I could pick up the phone and call my parents for advice. That wasn't an option for me. So I kind of had to learn on the fly, which is always not, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. So, but as as time got on, and I was able to get more comfortable and more confident, and didn't really worry about outside noise, and spending time with my kids became my passion, and being able to take care of my kids at a high level also became my passion. So and as they grow, you grow, and it's amazing. I still work on the road. I'm on the road, but FaceTime is amazing. Like the modern technology. I'm a FaceTime dad, full time. Usually I finish my show around 7 o'clock. I'm in my hotel room by 7:45. If I don't have homework going, if everyone's got their stuff together, we got Fortnite, so I'm online on my Switch with all my kids playing, and you spend a lot of time sometimes I'm just on FaceTime while they're just going about their day. And so I use as much modern technology as I can, because another downside is I have 4 kids in 4 different states. So it's a lot of traveling and stuff, and trying to make everything work. So it's a constant challenge, but my relationship with my kids is phenomenal. I couldn't ask for more fun, more well-behaved kids than I have. I've got lucky in that aspect of things. I mean, there's still things as a dad it cracks you up, because you see mirror reflections of yourself, especially in the strangest places. Like my youngest, my 8-year-old, she is literally the spinning image of me in terms of like her attitude and how she looks at things, and it just cracks me up because and my son is more he's more patient. He's kind of sweet in the sense of like he always looks at everything in a positive aspect, and my other daughters are the same way. They're very positive, and sometimes for me that I struggle with that because I wasn't, but then I forget, because I'm doing my part, they don't have to be negative. They don't have to go through the things that I went through. And it's not just success or just sending money. It's being there and being present, working with the moms, and just trying to be a good dad. And it's a full-time job, but it is the most rewarding job I have. And I don't think a day goes by where I'm not learning something new, or I need them as much as they need me. I know it keeps me grounded, keeps me focused, and they're at that age where they're curious about everything. They, every one of them wants their own YouTube show. Every one of them wants to be in their own, whether they want to be a professional wrestler like their dad, or they want to be on TV like their dad. So it's a lot of fun showing them those ropes and stuff. At the same time, being the disciplinarian, because I'm the one who asks when they get in trouble at school. They wait for the phone call from me, and then we got to sit down and figure it out. Although the illusion of my bark is way more than my actual bite. So it's something that I'm very proud to be a dad. But to tell you that it wasn't a mental battle, and I had to really step up, because it's very easy, especially when you work on the road, especially when you're in attention-seeking jobs like what I have. Very easily, hours can turn to days can turn to months, and there's always I see a lot of the excuses from dads, and I understand why dads leave. I understand them. Doesn't mean it, and I always thought, well, you know what? I think you can fight through your kids no matter how difficult it is. Sometimes dealing with the other side, whether it's your fault or their fault, either way, you got to find a way to stay there, because it's the kids, they need dads. We are valuable. We don't get much credit for it, but it's not a job that you should get a lot of credit for. But it is a constant I'm learning all the time, and it's the greatest job I ever had. And
I'll tell you what, Tyrus, very well said. And your testimony is so important, because right now, I mean, I talk on this show all the time about the fatherless crisis that we have going on with so many kids that have no father or father figure in their life. And the family court system in this country is one of the biggest reasons for that. That I know we want everything to be equal in this country, but in the family court system, it's not equal. Dads are forced out of the picture so many times. And it's the number one email that I get from dads all over the country about their horror stories that they go through trying to be involved in their kids' lives. But the other part of that is so many dads just throw their hands up and walk away from situations like this, and it leaves the kid in the worst possible situation. So the fact that you are present and what you are doing is a great testimony for so many other dads out there. And you can see, hey, if you can do it, they can do it. So props to you for that. And I know you mentioned too, you're a New York Times bestselling author.
You make such a great point. It is tough, and you're always going to be the bad guy. That's kind of the hat we wear as dads. And, you know, I've been there. I've been at that point because you understand when you have 4 children by 4 different people, you're going to have peaks and valleys, and you're going to go through times when all of a sudden everything you say or do is wrong, or there's an argument or an issue, and it always seems for dads. And again, it seems that the kids always kind of end up being the bargaining chip, and you got to really work hard to avoid that. And a lot of times as dads, you have to look at what's more important, winning the argument or getting time with your kids. And I know you're going to say, well, dads make mistakes too. I'm not saying that we're innocent. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes. Obviously, we make mistakes. It takes 2 people for a relationship to fail. But once I took my ego out of it, and it's not easy, but once I took my ego out of it, and I think this is the most important thing, and it's just my opinion, but once you make amends with the relationship ending and respecting that the relationship has ended, a lot of times from what I've seen on the outside looking in is one or more of the parents is still holding on to the relationship. So you got to make amends with it. You got to let it go, because if you're bitter, the only ones who really suffer are the kids, and you also don't want to spend your time interviewing your children about what their mom's doing. You don't want to be, if you're in it for your kids, you're in it for your kids, and you got to be a role model, and you have to lead by example. And sometimes it sucks. It really does. There's times when I really feel strongly about something, but instead of arguing with the mom, I'll just concede it and explain to the kids when I'm in that situation why it didn't work out. But that's part of being a man, is being able to excel when people aren't cheering for you, when your back's against the wall, when somebody is still bitter or hurt by your actions or whatever. It doesn't stop your dad time clock, and you can't get that time back. And there's times I've missed out on things with my kids when I've been fighting and arguing with the moms, and I've missed moments, and you can't get those back. You can get new moments by fighting through and showing up, and that's what you should dwell on. You can't fix the past, but you can improve your future. And so for dads, it's just about reminding yourself that this is about my child and fighting to see my child. And sometimes it means not picking your battles, and you're not going to win every fight. And sometimes, as we like to say in wrestling, leading from underneath, the guy who's getting beat up is leading the show, is sometimes not a bad mindset, because at the end of the day, it's about getting time with your kids, and that's what should be the focus. And again, there's nightmares and there's horror stories on both sides, and I've, like I said, I have a few friends who one of them hasn't seen his son in over a year, and that's a nightmare. But at the same time, I'm like, are you putting money away every month for him? Are you writing letters about his Christmas presents? Are you going to be able, because there's going to come a point where you're going to see him, and you want to be able to show him that he was in your thoughts and your prayers, and you loved him and you were fighting for him, because that goes a long way for kids, because they don't know. A lot of times only hear one side of the story. And when you come on and you start wasting your valuable time fighting over the side of the story that they're going to hear every day, you're better off being able to just present them, here's what your dad does. I love you very much. Doing everything I can to spend time with you. You call every day. If you get hung up on every day, you still call every day, because eventually you're going to catch them slipping, and they're just going to let you just keep at it, and you don't give up. And again, you're going to feel terrible. You're going to have people around you who say, just move on. You've done everything you can. I've heard every excuse given to me, like, hey, this used to happen all the time. They moved out of state. They're going to find a new dad and all this other kind of stuff. And I just wouldn't hear it. I just would not hear it. No, they're my babies. They're my children. And if we spend most of our time on Facebook, not Facebook, but FaceTime 5 days a week, and I get to see them physically once a month, and it's a long game. I know my kids are going to get older. They're going to be able to travel by themselves on the plane eventually. And I keep working like I'm working. I'm going to retire early, so I'll be able to make all the games and stuff. But you can be an active dad if you're not there. And then when the moms have issues, try to solve them. If she's short on rent or she's short on something or you're dealing with something, look at it to like, instead of jumping in and being like, why are you not doing this? And I'm sending this and I'm dealing with that. Again, the short game is what's best for my kids. And sometimes, and not all of us financially can afford, because child support is expensive. And, and sometimes you get caught up in stuff like the lifestyle they're accustomed to. I don't even know what that means. But, or you deal with somebody who's still trying to hurt you. There's sides, but those things pass, and good men find a way. I really believe that. I know we're not fashionable anymore, and everyone's anti-man right now, but we men do great things. Don't get a lot of credit for it, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah, very well said. And I think the co-parenting, a challenge for so many dads out there. I know from just so many that reach out to me. But I think right now, personal responsibility is something that's being avoided. I think maybe in this century, perhaps, we've had more excuses than any other time throughout history. It seems to be like an excuse-friendly atmosphere where everyone's telling you it's not your fault, it's somebody else's fault. I know just from being a recovering alcoholic and an addict, I always had that. I had every other reason why I was drinking and why I was drugging, because it wasn't me. And until I turned that light bulb on and said, wait a minute, maybe I should put myself on this blame list that I have accumulated, that I could start the process of moving forward with that. And I think we see that so much in our society. And you're right. There's been an attack on masculinity. Men are looked down upon now. Their role in the family is not looked up the way it used to be. And I think that's all contributing to the fact that we're seeing less dads involved in their kids' lives. And as a result, we're seeing more fatherless kids end up in the prison system committing all these crimes. As we see crime rate go up, it's coinciding with the fatherless rate going up. And I just think if we could just strengthen the nuclear family units or get dads just back involved in their kids' lives, that most of the trouble that we're seeing in our country would start to go away.
I mean, the biggest thing is you just have to remember, and like I said, this is just from my personal experience. So I'm by no means an expert, but I am with my heart. I know that when the expression is like, I'll walk through fire for my kids. Well, sometimes you have to prove it. And sometimes it'd be a lot easier if it was just a fire pit. Sometimes it's hearing every mistake you made. Sometimes it's hearing how you're not a real man. Sometimes it's hearing about, you lost your job, you got laid off, and, your money's tight. And every time you call, you hear, well, I need this and I need this, and you're not doing your part. Well, you're still present, still there to help with homework, still there to talk about their day, still there to just sit and watch a movie with them. A lot of times my kids like to go to sleep with their FaceTime on with me in the hotel and stuff. There's no monetary price on that. But, sometimes like, hey, I lost my job, but hey, I can come cut the grass this weekend or come take a walk for a walk. Like, I just want to spend time with my child. Like, you got to eat a lot of crow. And again, if your mindset is always, it's about seeing my children, then you're going to sleep well at night. But when you let pride, when you let victimhood overtake your fatherhood, you won't see it now. You won't see it while you're in it. But one day you're going to be looking back on your life and you're going to realize that the 20 years that you could have been trying to see your kids is gone, and they don't need you. That's the one thing is like once you're gone, perfect example. My father was not in my life at all. And when he attempted to try to be in my life, I was a grown ass man. I'd already figured everything out. And I just very nonchalantly just said, I don't know you. I'm not going to know you. And when I needed you, you weren't there. Now I've moved on and forgiven myself. And therefore and it goes back to what you're talking about. Once I made amends with the man in the mirror, I didn't need validation from him. I didn't need to hear the story. I didn't need to hear I fought and I never could find you and like all that kind of stuff. You didn't find me. And I was able to grow up and be successful without you. So at this point, I'm going to say no thank you on the relationship. So, because it's more about for you than it is for me. And you're not a role model that I want my kids around because you gave up, for 40 years. So that's not somebody that I want around my kids. And you can say that when you're present and you're doing your thing. And again, like I said, I get my ass kicked at least twice a week, every week, twice a week. But when I get smiles and I just got a text while we're talking saying, I love you, Daddy, I'll call you after school, that's worth every ass whipping, every I told you so, you're not that funny, I don't know what's in America season you, blah, 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 blah. So be it. I know what you cheer for. So your boos give me self-esteem. And I always say I know how to play. I tell my kids all the time, Daddy knows how to play on the road. I can get booed all day, but as long as I'm seeing you and we're talking on this phone, then so be it. And it does work. And again, my kids' moms aren't all monsters, and that's not what I'm saying. But we're going to have disagreements. You're going to have fights because we both have vested interests in our children and are very passionate about what's best for our children. And sometimes you have just philosophical differences on what you want your kids to be exposed to now more than ever. And getting mad and throwing your hands up and saying the hell with this doesn't help your children at all. And a lot of times forces the issue that you're feeling strongly about. So it's about communication. It's about, for guys, you got to be able to talk straight to the guy in the mirror. And you got to remember what the mission is. The mission is to get time with your children. And we always hear the thing, I take a bullet for my kids. Well, then you should be able to take dealing with someone who's being verbally mean to you or whatever, because that's kind of like we're built for that. So, and it is tough. But then when you get your moments, when your daughter holds your hand when you cross the street without asking her, or when your son calls you up just to talk to you about customizing his Dragon Ball Z action figures, that those are the moments that it's all worth it. I can be every name in the book. I can be that guy, loser, horrible lover, whatever they want to hit me with that day. I got an appointment to talk about customizations, and my daughters are doing fashion shows for me and showing me what they want to do. And they're all they're all building their own cartoons and TV shows and stuff. And the fact that I'm the first guy on the call list to discuss it, and I take a lot of pride in that. So there's no ass chewing I won't take be with my kids. And again, I'm telling you, if there's a dad who's on the ropes right now or feeling like he's about to throw his hands up, just one I love you makes it all better. I'm telling you from personal experience. And the more you kill them with kindness, the stronger you get. Guarantee it. And it's not easy. Trust me. You do a lot of this. But again, it's for them.
Yeah, and listen, obviously, breaking that cycle of the fact that your father wasn't in your life, you had no relationship with him, and you have broken that chain, and you are now involved in your kids' lives and doing it. That's what we need more of. I mean, that's the only way that we're really going to solve this, because there's so many kids that are growing up without a dad or a father figure. So if those guys continue to do the same thing, we're in a lot of trouble here. So it's going to take a turnaround like what you're doing right here, and your story, I know, will be definitely inspiring to so many different guys that are in a similar situation. So props to you. And obviously, you have the book, you do the wrestling, you're doing the Gutfield, you're doing the stand-up. What do you got next? What are you working on right now? What you got anything coming up in the future here? What's like the big? You got something else you're working on here? What's coming next for Tyrus?
I got another book I'm working on. I mean, my goal is 2030. I'm out the game, and I'm just a traveling dad going to games, and I have my kids late in life, but like I'm going to be around for the fun part when they get ready to go to high school and stuff, to be hopefully. But again, four mouths to feed. Is a lot, so I got a lot of jobs, but and right now everybody needs glasses, and everyone, a couple of them are starting to talk about they need braces and stuff. So it's getting
doing all that right now, glasses, braces, the whole bit.
And I always say it wasn't my plan to have 4 kids with 4 different moms, but it's what happened, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world right now. I love the fact that all my kids' hair don't match. I love that they're all different and unique and funny and so intelligent and different versions of me. And once you embrace that, and I don't owe anyone an explanation. I don't owe some stranger on the street, or when I travel with my kids and the TSA agent, does the like, oh, what's your name? Hi, I'm 11. Hi, I'm 11. Hi, I'm 11. And they look at me and I'm like, they're with me. Kiss my ass. Like, these are my babies. And and eventually, one of the things that I like in my other book, people ask, when I'm working, why don't you talk about my kids? And I'm like, because that story hasn't finished yet, and that's their story. And if they want to talk about it, because they're going to have questions for me, and they might be angry at me, And they might want to know why I wasn't always there in the beginning. And I'm going to have to answer those questions. And I'm not going to put my children's story on a piece of paper for $1 bill when it's their story. And if they say, Dad, I want you to tell our story, when they're old enough to understand it and work through their own stuff, because I have bills to pay. I'm going to have to, at some point, explain these things to my children. But it's not going to be some stranger out the street walking up to them going, hey, in chapter 13, when I heard about this and this with your dad, I think that's great. So, and it's a great story, and it could, but that's about, part of being about fathers, you have to protect your children at all times, even at the cost of yourself. So when it comes to my kid's story, it's off limits. You know, that's something that we'll talk about. And if they want to share that story, then we'll write a book together. And again, as long as we're good and my family's okay, you don't have to explain a damn thing to any stranger, any coworker. You know, you should never be ashamed of your children, whatever your circumstances is. And if you are, that's something wrong with you, and you need to fix that in your head, because I don't care if you were 18 and you ended up with 2 kids or whatever the situation was, and fatherhood was dropped on you while you're still a child yourself. There's a tremendous opportunity in there to inspire, to work hard, to find a way. You might not be able to go to the club. You might not be able to have a car with a 32-inch rims. You might not be able to have the fat gold chain. And you sacrifice all those things to take care of your children. But that is going to come back to you more than you'll ever know. Way more than somebody stopping you and saying, nice chain. You know, it's just priorities. And like I said, I'm talking from a place of wisdom now. And trust me, I was not excited about fatherhood when it first fell on me. I wanted to blame people. And you know, just like every other gambit of emotions, and it's not fair, and how this happened to me. And, you know damn well how it happened. So, but again, I look back on it, and I'm proud of the choices I made, and I love being a dad, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I don't always get it right, but that's kind of the point. I don't think any parent ever gets it right, but it's about figuring it out and learning from your mistakes, and that formula is working. And I have 4 growing, healthy, happy kids who are flourishing. And like I said, we do things. You know, we have our family chat line where the text is between us all day, just checking in on each other, and then at night we have our family FaceTime, and as long as no one's in trouble, it has an early bed. Although one of my daughters is having a hard time with the Wi-Fi, so she hasn't been able to do Fortnite with us for a couple of days. But do I want to spend my nights playing Fortnite, getting killed by 11-year-olds and an 8-year-old when they talk trash over me all the time? No, but it's what I do. I get to be there with them, and the joke's on them because we're all linked. I can monitor all their social media activity and be like, we don't do this and we don't do that. So it's a double-edged sword, but you find a way. And I will be like, gotta go, Jack. I got Fortnite in 20 minutes. It's a part of my responsibility, just like if I was there tucking them in every night, which I'm unable to do right now, but doesn't mean I can't be there when the lights go off.
Yeah, very cool, Tyrus. I love what you're doing, and you probably touched on some of this as you were talking through the conversation here. But the last thing I want to hit you with, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that brand new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
My advice is learn everything. Read books, ask questions. If you have the opportunity, if you have the grandfather, if you have the dad, ask questions and enjoy it, man. Enjoy it, because as much as you can. I mean, you got to work, you got to pay the bills, but I'm telling you right now, leaving your kids at home to go out and see what you're missing more at home. Like, enjoy staying home with your kids. Learn to change those diapers. Be the one to jump up at 3 a.m. to burp them and stuff, because that bond that you're creating will last you forever. And so you don't want to pass those moments up. Enjoy the moment. I'd be like, absolutely, like, questions and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been a lot of fun for me. I got to say, Tyrus, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
And hit me up anytime. Love the conversation.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood Advice and Wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it. God bless, and I'll catch you next time.